Boy, this one, Proverbs 20, has some words of wisdom for us. And I mean that too, because we're talking about alcohol, dealing with alcohol and those kinds of things. So, and repentance, which is a very important principle of the gospel. So let's jump in here. Verse 1, wine is a mocker, strong drink is raging, and whosoever is deceived thereby is not wise. So do not get drunk. Just realize that. And drinking wine can lead down that slippery slope of drinking more and getting you to that point of having problems. Just be careful. Don't go down that road, basically. Verse 2, the fear of a king is as the roaring of a lion. Whoso provoketh him to anger sinneth against his own soul. It is an honor for a man to cease from strife, but every fool will be meddling. So I like this. This is so fascinating that they're really, the last 5 to 6 chapters have basically talked about the same thing from a bunch of different perspectives. There's these repeat principles that we're seeing as we go along, basically. Do you think these are important principles to learn? Yeah, me too. I think they're important. Verse 3, it is an honor for a man to cease from strife, but every fool will be meddling. I just read that one. So stop dealing with contention. Get rid of contention. Be the de-escalator. Verse 4, the sluggard will not plow by the reason of the cold. Therefore shall he beg in harvest and have nothing. So again, when it's hard conditions and you got to get out and plow your field to plant it, and the sluggard's like, oh, it's just too hard, they're going to be freaking out come harvest, realizing they don't have enough to sustain themselves. They're going to come begging it from everybody else who worked hard. Verse 5, counsel in the heart of a man is like deep water. This was just 2 chapters ago we saw this. But a man of understanding will draw it out. So again, counsel, what comes from our heart is of substance, deep water. There's a lot there. And that's good if we are being wise in what we do. Verse 6, most men will proclaim every one his own goodness, but a faithful man who can find? Pretty interesting idea, basically. So that one's kind of interesting. So in the New Revised Standard Edition, it says, many proclaim themselves loyal, but who can find one worthy of trust? So a lot of people will say, I'm good, but who is actually truly faithful in that is a different story. They can say they're trustworthy, but are they really trustworthy? Verse 7, the just man walketh in his integrity, his children are blessed after him. That's an important point. Again, this idea of as we have integrity, it establishes our life. It helps us improve our life, which is good. And children, if we give that example to the children, our children will be blessed of us as we show them that example, that right way to go. Elder Bruce R. McConkie said, in fact, the complete development of man's moral character in conformity with principles of justice and uprightness is termed integrity. A man of integrity is sound, incorruptible, and particularly strict about fulfilling the trusts reposed in him by others. The highest manifestation of integrity is exhibited by those who conform their conduct to the terms of those gospel covenants and promises which they have made. Integrity goes hand in hand with uprightness and righteousness, and the Lord loves those who have integrity of heart. The integrity of the upright shall guide them, and the just man walketh in his integrity, his children are blessed after him. That's in the book Mormon Doctrine. Verse 8, a king that sitteth on the throne in judgment scattereth away all evil with his eyes. So a king that is judging righteously, of course, is going to keep the evil and the wickedness out, because the people are not going to want to go before the king to be judged of him. And I think this is an important thing for us to think about too, that when we think about doing wickedness, we have to realize we're going to stand before the king and have to answer for this. So maybe we shouldn't do it if we don't want to have to answer it for it. Verse 9, who can say, I have made my heart clean, I am pure from my sin? Diverse weights and diverse measures, both of them are alike abomination to the Lord. Even a child is known by his doings, whether his work be pure and whether it be right. So we need to truly be repentant. We can't just declare ourselves repentant or declare ourselves clean. We have to truly be clean. There's more of an objectiveness to it than a subjectiveness. Verse 12, the hearing ear and the seeing eye, the Lord hath made even both of them. That is true. Verse 13, love not sleep, lest thou come to poverty. Open thine eyes, and thou shalt be satisfied with bread. So again, get out of bed. Get going. Work. Toil. Do the things you need to do. Verse 14, it is not, saith the buyer. But when he is gone his way, then he boasteth. So you got to be careful about this one as well. This one's getting into the idea of doing one thing and saying something else. Oh, I did this or da 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 da, when it really wasn't that way. That's you can't have it both ways. Verse 15, there is gold and a multitude of rubies, but the lips of knowledge are a precious jewel. So really think about understanding, getting a deep understanding of things is just as important as obtaining to physical wealth. It is a different kind of wealth, but is very beneficial to help you out. Verse 16, take his garment that is surety for a stranger, and take a pledge of him for a strange woman. So the NRSV says, take the garment of one who has given surety for a stranger, and seize the pledge given as surety for foreigners. Now, strange woman sometimes can mean either a foreigner or a prostitute type situation. But again, this is, sometimes people would leave an article of clothing as a guarantee of their word, that they would do something. And that's kind of what it's getting at here, basically. Verse 17, bread of deceit is sweet to a man, but afterwards his mouth shall be filled with gravel. If you lie to get your way, it feels good in the moment, but it will come back to bite you. Verse 18, every purpose is established by counsel, and with good advice make war. Now this is not necessarily saying that war is good advice. This is saying that if you have to deal with a war, you need good advice. And so use counsels, not just one person's opinion. Use counsels to eliminate the problems of bias within one person's perspective. This is very important for any leader, especially in the church. Use counsels. They're so important. There's a whole chapter on it in the church handbook about the importance of using counsels. Do not just trust in your own judgment for everything. This is such a flaw in the traditional part of the LDS church. We have this flaw that says that leaders are somewhat infallible to an extent. We kind of make an assumption that what they say is right, and we just do what they say. And that's not completely true. It is true that, yes, we should follow our leaders, no matter what they say. That is what we are judged on, is how do we relate with our leaders, okay? They will be judged on if they gave us good advice or not. So if a leader gives us bad advice and we follow it, we're not held accountable for it. They will be. So as a leader, we have to make sure we understand, am I truly giving good advice to my people? Because you will ultimately be held accountable for the advice you give to people. Make sure it's good, so you don't have to stand in front of the bar of God and God go, why did you tell him to go down this road? That was terrible. Look at what you did to hurt these people. This is so important as a leader to understand, okay? There is a concept philosophically that you can work so hard to do what's right, you end up doing what's wrong. This is a possibility. How many people have not been forced out of the church, but how many people have been compelled to leave the church because a leader thought they were doing what is right and it irritated people and they left? I'm not saying we have to succumb to the opinion of others, but what I'm saying is, as a leader, we have to take account the experience of others. And if we don't, we are only giving ourselves a hard situation to deal with. We need to make sure that we're using counsels, not just the person we're dealing with, but for other people too that would be relevant to help us be more objective in what we do. So important. This is why we have counselors. Counsel with them. They're there to give you an objectivity. If you do not follow your counselor's advice, or you kind of push your counselors to the side and don't listen to them, just do what you want to do, you're not going to have a good situation. Listen to them. Follow them. They're there to help you. So important. Counsels make such a difference. All right, verse 19, he that goeth about as a tale-bearer revealeth secrets. Therefore meddle not with him that flattereth with his lips. So again, somebody who aggrandizes the story, does the big fish thing, who's always telling the stories and things, yeah, they're not the ones that keep the secrets because they love to tell the tale. They don't keep secrets very well. Verse 20, whoso curseth his father or his mother, his lamp shall be put out in obscure darkness. Good advice for kids. If you are going to make it hard for your parents, you're going to be rude to your parents, you're going to be left out in the cold, you're going to be left out in the dark, you're going to be stuck. And that's not a good situation to be in. So follow what your parents are saying. Verse 21, an inheritance may be gotten hastily at the beginning, but the end thereof shall not be blessed. So again, you may get an inheritance. Yay, I got an inheritance at the beginning, but it doesn't mean it's going to be a good thing for you. It's like winning the lottery. Yay, you win a lot of money, but a couple years later, now you're depressed and you're broke and you have all kinds of problems. Verse 22, say not thou, I will recompense evil, but wait on the Lord and he shall save thee. This is so important when it comes to dealing with justice. It's not our job to bring justice on others. It is our job to let God handle that. Very important point. Verse 23, divers weights are an abomination unto the Lord, and a false balance is not good. We've seen that like 4 times now. It's interesting. I hadn't thought about this before, but these chapters are literally repeating themselves over and over and over again. And if you're an expert in the book of Proverbs, I'd love to hear your thoughts, ideas as to why really, we could have taken like the last 6 or 7 or 8 chapters and compiled it into one chapter. It's repeating itself so much, basically. Why is it? Why are these repeated? Could it be that repetition is important for learning, which it is? Maybe that's what the author wants us to do, is to repeat these to help us to learn. Maybe these are compilations, or like King Solomon, because King Solomon's attributed to most of these as the author. He said them, but now we get these interpretations as other people share them around, and we've got these other interpretations that are coming together, and they just thought, well, we'll just put them all together and lump it all in, basically, to cover all the bases. I'm not exactly sure, but that'd be an interesting thing to look into. Verse 24, man's goings are of the Lord. How can a man then understand his own way? So again, our lives have, God is involved in everything in our life. And so he knows our future. He knows what's going on. He knows what's coming next. So we may not fully understand our own way. We might not fully understand what's on our best interests. So that's where the humility comes in, to follow God and not the pride of trying to do it your way. Verse 25, it is a snare to the man who devoureth that which is holy, and after vows to make inquiry. So this is really important for us to think about it conceptually here, is realize if you go and you make covenants with God and then you go out and violate them, that's not good. Don't go do what's holy and then go out and break them. Don't go to church and look good and then go do what you want the rest of the week. That's not how it works. We should be good always, not just sometimes. Always. Verse 26, a wise king scattereth the wicked and bringeth the will over them. If you're bringing the will over them, you are running over people. You are killing them. You are destroying them. A king that is righteous will scatter those wicked. The wicked will want to leave his kingdom because they will be punished for their wickedness. That's an important point. The problem is a bad king is going to increase the wickedness. So kings tend to be more polarizing as government officials. Verse 27, the spirit of man is the candle of the Lord, searching all the inward parts of the belly. Mercy and truth preserve the king, and his throne is upholden by mercy. The glory of young men is their strength, and the beauty of old men is the gray head. Isn't that true? Young men love to be strong. Old men have gray hairs because they are wise in their experience in life. Verse 30, the blueness of a wound cleanseth away evil. So do stripes the inward parts of the belly. So that's really interesting, talking about being beat or having an injury, that sometimes we have reproof to get rid of the bad things in life. Sometimes getting into a hard situation helps us to realize the right way to go. I think that's what that's really getting at in there as well. So thanks for watching the videos, and we'll see you in the next chapter.